Up+Adam.
Tractor systems are offline.
We are Beyond FM.
Beyond FM.
The future of broadcasting is here.
Up+Adam with Adam Montiel. It's community content from Concentrate. It's Up+Adam with Adam Montiel.
Some say life is where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Yes, some say life is just where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again.
Hey now, and happy Tuesday. True Crime Tuesday. Thank you for being Up+Adam. My name is Adam Montiel. What do Alexander the Great, Shakespeare, Queen Victoria, even George Washington all have in common, besides being in your high school history book? Well, according to today's guest, they were all absolutely lit. That's right. From popes sipping cocaine wine to Freud's love affair with Blow, there's a whole side of history that never made it into the textbooks. And it's scandalous. It's shocking. And it's 100% true. Coming up, we're going to trip, historically speaking, of course, with virtual social media sensation, also Stanford-trained historian Sam Kelly. He's also the author of his debut book, Human History on Drugs. It doesn't just pull back the curtain. It sets the whole damn thing on fire. We're talking 40 historical icons, 40 stories of altered states, from LSD to laudanum, mushrooms to morphine, and a whole lot of wild truths that leave you seeing history through an entirely new lens. Don't miss this one. It's later on, coming up on Up+Adam. We're going to go quick, get right into it. First, got to tell you about Pink Drink. It's coming up this Saturday. You can win your way in. Go to adammontiel.com, but why even chance it? Yeah, get those extra tickets for sure. Get to adammontiel.com. Try your way in for sure. Right off the homepage, can't miss it. But we want to see you get to pinkdrink.org. D-R-A-N-K, pinkdrink.org. $65. Ain't never been spent so wisely. You are not going to leave hungry or thirsty, all for a great cause. Our Friends of the Woods Humane Society. Of course, Elks National Foundation. Poolside, 21 and over, silent auction, wine pull, 30 different producers of wine, beer, spirits, cocktails. We are pouring pink. We are doing it for a great cause, and we would love to see you. Get to it. No event like this around. That's why we made it. Pink Drink, D-R-A-N-K, pinkdrink.org. I can't believe it is just around the corner. I can't believe it's Saturday. Want to say thanks to our friends at Life Elements for being Up+Adam. You know I love a good local story. And this one, it's got heart, it's got hustle, and best of all, it's got healing. Life Elements, based right here in SoCal, Atascadero to be precise, is a woman and minority-owned company making small batch bath, body, and wellness products that are straight up alchemy. Their CBD relief sticks, legendary. Ask my dad, who now swears by them. Their EcoSmart deodorants are absolute game changers and have become one of their most popular products in years. Yes, of course, hit up lifeelements.com, but let me encourage you to swing by their spot in person. Martha's one of a kind. It's not uncommon. She'll just whip something up for you right there. 7425 El Camino Real, Suite O. It's in the back right corner of the plaza. You really can't miss it. It's super easy. Parking all around. You're all good. This is local love at its best. I truly believe happy food comes from a happy kitchen. Happy wine comes from a happy cellar. And happy wellness products, they come from Martha and Kurt at Life Elements. Use the promo code ADAM on their website, lifeelements.com. Save 15%. Promo code ADAM, A-D-A-M. Easy. Get to lifeelements.com and let them know you heard them on Up+Adam.
It's Up+Adam with Adam Montiel.
All right, he's the guy who looked at your history book and was like, yeah, but what were they on? Sam Kelly is a Stanford-trained historian, a wildly popular social media storyteller with over 140,000 followers, and the author of the brand new book, Human History on Drugs, an utterly scandalous but entirely truthful look at history under the influence. From Queen Victoria's cannabis tinctures to George Washington's daily opium habit to popes chugging cocaine wine when I guess prayer wasn't enough. Sam's work is funny, it's fearless, and it's fascinating. It's all true. He's here to talk about the 40 iconic figures who shaped our world and the substances that shaped them. Welcome, Sam Kelly, Up+Adam.
Absolutely, yeah. It's great to be here. Good talking to you as well.
Okay, so picture this. Queen Victoria secretly sipping her cocaine wine, Alexander the Great roaring drunk, Shakespeare lighting up, history's heavyweights in intoxication. How did you balance the shock factor with historical empathy when writing about these figures' most scandalous habits?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I always felt that it was really important to convey that so much of, especially older styles of historical teaching, focuses on teaching about these significant people as larger than life, somewhat sanitized or whitewashed figures. And it's very easy to view them as being not like real people. And so I wanted to go and say, no. These are very much the stories of real people who led, complicated, nuanced lives. They had flaws and vices, but they also had things they enjoyed and little quirks. And so I wanted to give a fuller and richer view of the lives of people who so often seem like abstractions.
Yeah, I love that moment where you reveal why George Washington was always looking so stoic, because he was literally medicating pain with opium on a daily basis. When you piece that together, what moved you more? I mean, the historical significance of, or maybe just the human fragility of it all?
Yeah, no, it really reminds you of, it's easy to see Washington, again, as this he's the guy in all these paintings and on the dollar bill, and as this iconic figure, and you look at him and you're like, he's never smiling in anything he's in. Why is he never smiling? And why is it that he always looks like he's practically trying to hold his teeth inside his mouth with his lips? He always looked just really uncomfortable and awkward. And then so thinking about the realization that no, he didn't have wooden teeth. He had these horrific Frankensteinian nightmare dentures that are comprised of corpses' teeth pulled from slaves. There's a whole moral horror in that, and various animal teeth, all crudely wired together and then hitched to the one real teeth he's got in his mouth. And it's you think why would he do that? And the answer comes is that if he has no teeth, he can't talk properly. Yeah. And if he can't talk properly, he can't lead a nation. So therefore, they have to give him teeth, which means they shove this horror in his mouth, and then he has to constantly take opium to block out the pain of the teeth he needs to lead.
Unreal. In the book, you call drugs tools, sometimes for maybe pain relief, creativity, even imperial ambition, apparently. What was there one person or story that flipped you from seeing these substances as, vices, to seeing them as really instruments of transformation?
Again, I didn't really go, I did go into it with the view that these things are not inherently good or bad. So I did operate under the assumption that these things were tools, because just from the beginning, it seemed like the range of possibilities is very vast. And for some people, things can actually work out really well. Steve Jobs talked about how he said that doing LSD was one of the 2 or 3 most valuable things he did in his life, because it helped him design better. He felt that it helped him think different, as the old slogan goes. But so the graphical user interface, right? That he didn't create that, but he popularized that and used it. And nowadays, we can't imagine the idea of a computer with no icons, no pictures on it. But back when he was doing this, the industry standard was just plain text on a plain background, and Xerox had actually come up with the graphical user interface, but they thought, you know what, no, this is too gimmicky and childish. It will never catch on. Let's forget about it. But then Steve Jobs, who's had his mind altered by LSD, he looks at this and says, whoa, no, man, we're going to create an entire little world inside your computer screen. When you want to throw away a file, you're going to throw away it into a trash can, a little icon of a trash can. And people are going to want to live in that world on their computer screen. And it might have sounded crazy at the time, but nowadays it's the industry standard. And we can't, again, it just seems weird to not have, well, what we now take for granted, but which he had to pretty much force into the mainstream with his weird, trippy, addled brain.
Yeah, what a trip. I mean, pun intended, I guess. You left,
No, absolutely.
Sam, the academic track because you wanted to chase rabbit holes, not footnotes, right? How was writing this book outside the academy freed you to tell these stories differently?
Yeah, I think I definitely had just there is such a sense of constraint with a lot of more academic writing because you often end up having to write for very small audiences with a very small like the people who are actually going to read your work is very small, and the amount of work you can draw on is much more constrained by rather arbitrary strictures, I feel like, and just the kind of academic research that I would have had to do if I was at a university, I would have ended up with a similar length bibliography, but the writing would end up being a lot drier and a lot more technical. And so this made me, I wanted to focus as much on storytelling and making this enjoyable for even people who aren't history buffs as well. I wanted anyone who enjoys a good story to be able to sit down with this book and read a chapter or two by the pool, just as much as I want the hardcore historians to binge the whole thing. And if I was working in an academic context, I would have no chance at reaching the non-academic historians. There would be no way to make it so that it would be both for the hardcore people and for the people at large.
Yeah, you connect figures from ancient emperors to, like you just mentioned, Steve Jobs, the Beatles. Thinking about today, where do you see our relationship, Sam, with mind-altering tools mirroring or diverging from some of those past parallels that you talk about?
Yeah, I think nowadays, I think there's a lot more, obviously not universally, but I think in general, there's a lot more appreciation that drugs are tools and there's potential good and bad that can be done from a lot of substances. So I'm very much in favor of continuing research into all kinds of new modes of like various psychedelic therapies. I believe that a lot of things that have previously been pigeonholed as more recreational drugs have tremendous medical applications, possibly even spiritual applications. And so I believe that our understanding of substances has gotten a lot less black and white and a lot more nuanced, which I think is a good thing. But at the same time, I don't, and I don't really think this is a large scale social risk. But at the same time, I want to make it clear that while I believe we should avoid demonizing, we should also not be glorifying at the same time, because it's not the right choice for everyone to ingest substances, So,
Right.
But so I think people are a lot more understanding now of the differences in the fact that people do these things for all kinds of reasons, and there can be good and bad reasons and ways that are better to use these things. And so I think we have more of an understanding now, but we could stand to go further.
I'll talk about booze for a second, and we'll talk about the beginning of AA in a minute, because that's fascinating. But when did alcohol move from celebration to dependency in the lives of powerful historical figures?
That's a fascinating subject because certainly there's a lot of people who use them for both, where they'll celebrate and at the same time will also try and drown their sorrows with it. But certainly a lot of powerful figures, whether it's someone who just overindulges like Alexander the Great and it ultimately kills him, even though he didn't lose any battles.
He was drinking out of a bowl, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, no, he would drink hard, like unwatered wine. So like wine stored at like 40 to 50% alcohol by volume. He would drink that straight out of bowls, and he also had a massive opium habit. So that pretty much destroyed his immune system, and he died when he was 32. Because it turns out if you're conquering half the known world, you can't have a destroyed immune system when you're facing all those tropical diseases and recovering from injuries. So that certainly became an area of dependency where he could no longer control himself, and his drinking killed him because he just couldn't get a handle on it. Similarly, this didn't kill him per se, but Richard Nixon was a severe problem drinker, and when he was stressed, he would drink more and more. And so by the time that the Vietnam War is raging and he's getting investigated for all kinds of stuff, he is drinking so heavily that he would routinely call up his cabinet members at night, drunk out of his mind, and say, okay, today is the night we're doing it. We're going to nuke Cambodia. And his cabinet members would be terrified and be like, he's obviously drunk, but he's also the president. And he'd have to have Henry Kissinger calling after him and going, look, just let him sleep it off. I doubt he'll even remember it in the morning.
Wow.
And sure enough, he would have blacked out and not even remembered that the previous night he'd ordered his guys to nuke a country.
Oh my gosh. Unbelievable. Now let's talk about AA. Do you see the founding of Alcoholics Anonymous as really a breakthrough in how societies treat addiction? It was the way it started was kind of odd too.
I mean, Alcoholics Anonymous came around at a time period when there was extremely little scientific understanding of these issues, and a lot of people wanted to kind of cram them out and put it away. So the circumstances in which AA originated make a certain degree of sense. Admittedly, it is kind of odd that the guy who founds it, right, he'd had a significant drinking problem. He felt like it made him more charming and in control, but then he lost control of his life. And so he tries to stop several times, but those don't work. So finally, he does this experimental therapy where he's given this bizarre blue stuff that has there's straight up poison in there. I forget the exact ingredients, but I'm pretty sure they were convulsive. It was supposed to make you puke and purge. But so he takes this purging treatment, and he has, in the midst of his delirium, he has this vision of a higher power that tells him that he should turn his faith over to God, and that if he does this, then he can move forward. And so the founding of AA is not based on scientific premises. It's a guy who had a personal crisis and then had a religious vision in the throes of a crazy drug trip. And then that is the basis of so again, the program has much more of a sort of almost like a theological religious bent than it does a scientific one, because it's very much based on yes, if your thought process is similar to this guy, if you're, I don't know, a powerful working man who can't admit that they have a problem. And for some people, that actually is the right approach, but it's very, very rooted in what Bill W.'s personal experience was. And then there's also the fact that later in life, he starts doing LSD. And Bill W. finds that he's like, oh my God, I feel like I'm having a contact with that higher power now. This could be a way. And so he puts forth the idea that maybe LSD is a way for people who haven't had that experience with the higher power to engage with that higher power. And it turns out the AA board does not like that at all. They're like, dude, we're trying to get people off alcohol, and you're telling them to do LSD. So that was why he had to leave the organization and step away from the board, because they were cool with it when he was saying yes, trust in God, a higher power can get you off alcohol. But when he started to say, and if you want to experience some of that higher power, maybe do LSD, that part was where they were like, okay, no.
I love this. Dang. Let me ask you a question, because let's be honest, sometimes history books make people feel like everything's behind glass. It's sterile. It's untouchable. Yeah. And you write with such vivid detail. I got to ask, some of this research, it feels a little firsthand, Sam. Have there been any substances you've, let's say, maybe sampled in the name of historical immersion?
Well, I mean, so the thing is, I've had a lot of medical problems in my life. And so I've taken a lot of medications, and a lot of medications that they give people for fairly standard things are quite striking. I mean, it's like I've dealt with anxiety issues. And so, I've been given all kinds of SSRIs and benzodiazepines. And these are potent, benzodiazepines, that's like Valium, Ativan, Klonopins, and things of that nature. That's just, I have a routine where I regularly take a benzodiazepine and an SSRI, and that's just a normal thing for me. For a long time, I had ADHD. In college, I was taking like Vyvanse or Adderall, and so for a long time, I was medically prescribed amphetamines. I've had medical things where I've had to be given opioid painkillers, and so I've been given a lot of different medications over the course of my life, and just the fact that it occurred to me, I'm like, this is being given to me by a doctor for a legitimate purpose, but this could just as easily be misused by someone as a drug. And I feel like we act as though like, oh, like people doing drugs and people taking medicine are a world apart. But as the case of Elvis showed, where Elvis thought that nothing a doctor gave him could hurt him, and it turns out no, you can still very much get hooked on prescription drugs. Wow. So I always thought that like my own experience using these pharmaceuticals has shown me both how useful they can be as tools, but also how a lot of people don't really understand what they are and fail to understand that like the idea of drugs being bad only works if you remove all the medications we use, all of the stuff like I've heard plenty of people say, oh, I don't do drugs. And I think, but you have a coffee every morning, you drink on the weekends, so it's like, I wanted to kind of break down the idea that just because something is like you don't necessarily use it or it's unusual, that doesn't mean this isn't part of the human experience.
I love it, Sam. I love how honest you are there. You dig into the stories. And God, I feel like I could go down steroids, Ozempic. Oh, there's so many different places I want to go with you in the next couple minutes, but time is just going to be, not on our side. You dig into these stories of people who use stimulants to push performance, like Soviet athletes, executives dosing midday. Who was the most surprising heavy hitter? Is it the person taking serious stuff but still showing up? And how do they manage that duality?
I think in terms of surprising heavy hitters, did I already mention Pope Leo XIII?
He was doing what, like cocaine wine or something?
Yeah, so that's the thing. So Pope Leo XIII is, again, he is a esteemed pope to the point that the current pope is named after him.
Yeah, right.
And so Pope Leo XIII is, in the history of the Catholic Church, there have been about 300 encyclicals, these big documents of theology. This one guy wrote 80 of them. And he was in his late 70s when he started being the pope, in his 90s when he died and quit being pope. And so this is a guy who had extraordinary energy, which he used, and he used the cocaine wine. He said that it fortified him when prayer was insufficient. He gave a Vatican gold medal to the creator of it. He gave, he appeared in a full-page advertisement endorsing it. And so like this guy, the fact that he's not considered a bad pope. He's widely respected and still seen as like an inspirational model there. And it intrigued me that this was, I genuinely can say that I did not expect to have a pope in this book.
Wow. The links are in the show notes for the book. It is fantastic. You are really one of a kind, super unique, and great job. Well done, my man. Thanks for being Up and Adam.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here. Yeah.
Some say to start again.
It reminds us that history isn't just facts. It is very, very human. The book is out now. Links in the show notes. Follow Sam on social media at Human History on Drugs. Put underscores in between the words. Again, links in the show notes. Keep it easy. Man. All right. Getting ready for Pink Drank. I'm going to be on Hammer's morning show tomorrow. 95.3 The Beach, I think in the 7 a.m. hour. That's going to be fun. Up early. So you can be Up and Adam with me on 95.3 The Beach tomorrow. Talking all about Pink Drank. Get to Pink Drank, D-R-A-N-K, pinkdrank.org. I want to see you this Saturday at the Elks Lodge in SLO. A fun, great event for a great cause. Silent auction, wine pull, all the stuff. Your $65 ticket includes everything. Everything. It's an all-inclusive ticket. Come on now. Check it out, pinkdrank.com. Everything. Do it, all right? Thanks to Moonshiner Collective for original music on the show. Start Again. Thanks to Timbre Winery for the Lobro Studios at Timbre, timbrewinery.com, Timbre, timbrewinery.com, and of course, moonshinercollective.com. Not sure if I said that. Thank you to you for rating, reviewing, subscribing to what we do here, keeping it, sharing it with a friend and keeping it connected. I just appreciate you so much. Thank you for being here. Have a great rest of your day. My name is Adam Montiel. Till tomorrow, where we'll connect again. Thanks for being Up and Adam.
Some say life's where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again. Let's start again. We'll start again. Let's start again.